How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to That Car Vlog channel. If you're not already aware, my name is Andy, and today we're going to look at a vehicle that could be better. This is a 2012 Nissan Quest S. This van has been a part of our family for a little over a year now and is about to go away. So I figured I'd go ahead and make this video before the truck comes. Now I'm going to go over this thing. I'm going to go do a walk around. I'm going to show all the features that this thing has, some quirks, some of the things that might make this seem like a good family vehicle in the long run, that might make it appealing for purchase. And then I'm going to tell you guys why I don't recommend it. But first, a little history lesson on the Quest. The Nissan Quest was first introduced for the 1993 model year, which ran through 1998. Now, this first generation and the second generation were a joint venture with Ford, who actually put out a rebadged version under their Mercury brand known as the Villager. See how they're pretty much the same van. The second generation was no different. Here was the second generation 99 to 02 Nissan Quest. By the way, there was never an 03 Quest. And there's the second generation Villager. Now the third generation Quest was when Ford and Nissan broke ties. Ford went to produce the Mercury version of the Freestar, and Nissan went to update the Quest. The third generation of the Quest, which I actually liked, at least the look of, was the 04 through 09 Quest. This had a 3.5 liter V6 engine. I saw a claim of an 8.80 to 60. And it kind of had a wild center dash design where there were no gauges in front of the driver. They were all kind of in the center. This again ran through 09. There was no 10 model year. This vehicle is the fourth generation Quest that came back in 2011. Under the hood here, let's pop that. Is a 3.5 liter V6 engine putting out 260 horsepower, which is 20 up from the third generation. Now this engine is a very good engine, actually, very stout. It's got plenty of power. The unfortunate part, however, is that it is linked to a CVT, which stands for Continuously Variable Transmission. From what I understand, and honestly I believe it from our experience with this van, Nissan has the worst CVT in the game. But we'll get to that. I might do another video talking about the advantages and disadvantages of CVT, because I think that would be a good informative video. But for now, we're just going to take a tour of the car. So we'll start here on the exterior. As we can tell, it has a nice Asian, Japanese design on it. Like a lot of foreign cars, and even some Americans, it has these haunches on either side of the hood. Kind of subtle on the van, but the cars have it a whole lot more. Now there is some damage. The wife ended up smacking the butt of a deer one night, really late, and it dented the fender the bumper up pretty badly. It dented the fender. We were able to pull all that out though, but it really never lined up perfectly. Really not much to say about the design of the car. Now it is a very boxy design. As you see, the roof is kind of flat and then it just kind of drops off. That's pretty much the way vans are nowadays. The Sienna's that way. Even the Dodge Caravan, the Kia, they're all pretty much that way. Now down here we do have black steel rims. These would have wheel covers on them. for the base and the S trim. However, all these wheel covers broke. If you get above the S trim into the SL and the, I forget what the others are honestly, you'd have actual alloy wheels, which would look a lot better. Now the base model, which is the only one below the S, would not have any of these chrome accents. It wouldn't have this strip on the tailgate that's chrome. It wouldn't have that strip above the front grille that was chrome. That would have been black. Right here, here's our fuel door, pretty standard. We have a roof rack up here. Now these are just the sidebars. You can also buy separately. Honestly, I don't know if you were supposed to buy them separately or if they came with it or not, but this one doesn't have it. The crossbars, which hook in right here and right about here and go over to the other side. Now we do have a busted up mirror over here. That was the result of someone crossing the line. Well, not someone driving this car, but another driver while someone else was out driving this vehicle. Now here is the remote key fob for the Nissan Quest. It's pretty much your standard key fob for any Nissan. Some of them may have more options depending on, they may have more buttons depending on the options you have, but this one is just the S. It just has your lock and unlock, so lock it up, unlock, unlock, there we go. Or if it's locked, I can just reach over here, with the key in my pocket, reach over here, hit the button, it'll unlock and let me in. In the interior, it is fairly nice. We have simulated wood grain on the doors. Also here on the dash, it runs all the way over here to where the start-stop button and your four-ways are. Over the other side, it runs all the way over. There it is on your other door. And the simulated wood grain continues on the inside of the sliding doors here where the window switch is. Now I'm going to ask everybody to excuse this van, is kind of messy. I was originally planning to clean it up and do a proper review on it, but now I don't have to care. So this is just more of a video to kind of give everyone a tour and what I think of it. Now this being the S trim and nothing higher, it has a lot of blank switches. You see this entire panel here has one switch that actually is a switch, and it's the traction control off, which I'm still trying to figure out why you want that in a minivan, but it has it. This would be where you control things like sliding door functionality, the power lift gate, that kind of thing on the higher level. Over here in our center stack, now this is obviously not the factory Nissan radio. That was removed, and this was hastily put in. I think someone else wanted this radio. But this is not the factory Nissan radio. The S trim has pretty much just a standard 6-disc CD changer, AM, FM, aux input, that kind of thing. Higher trims would actually have a touchscreen infotainment system, and where this little storage cubby here is, there would actually be controls for that infotainment system, your physical buttons. But in these lower trims where you don't have that, you do have this extra little tray. And down here we have our climate control. Let me turn the accessories on. Climate controls here. Now this is not a dual zone system, otherwise this would look a lot different. It would have a lot more buttons. Turn that off. Actually, just turn the fan down. There we go. So this pretty much controls everything. Here's your rear control. And of course, you can lock out the rear as well. Down here would be other controls. Honestly, I forget what they were for, but there would be more controls down here, I'm assuming for the radio, if this had the other infotainment system up here. But since it doesn't have all that, you get another extra little storage cubby. Below that, where these blank switches are, would be the controls for heated seats on higher trim models. Here we have retractable cup holders, 1 and 2, like that. Down here we have another storage bin, pretty roomy, and our 12-volt power socket. And the center console that has some of my gear in it and some random crap. You see we have 2 more cup holders. I love modern cars. Hey, they have so many cup holders, it's ridiculous. And you have 2 more right here. which you think could be used for the back, but the back also has cup holders. We'll get to that. Now this tray here in higher trim models, I believe, from what I saw in the owner's manual or something, would have had a section with charging ports, USB ports, maybe another 12 volt, I think. But this doesn't have that, it's just a big tray. In the front of the console, we have another storage bin. There's plenty of storage in this car. Come over here to the passenger side, you have, as standard, you have a nice roomy glove box. You've got good sized door pockets on either door. Here, of course, we have 4 power windows, pretty standard. Window lockout, power locks, power mirrors. On either side of the gauge cluster, we have these big silver buttons. These are probably the biggest and most prominent controls I've ever seen for controlling gauge cluster brightness. So if I just hit this here, I believe the car has to be running. Yeah, it does. If I hit this here, it just goes down, 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 down. And then this one, it just brings it right back up. And there we go. Turn that back off. Over here, we just have our... Over here, we have our controls for both of these screens. Now, this screen here is pretty much all your vehicle information. It gives you a warning, says, okay, warning, the door's open. It gives you fuel range, which is pretty low. It doesn't even know what it's got. There's your outside temperature, 81. We have all kinds of things from maintenance to alerts to options. So if there's warnings, it'll tell you you can skip them or you can detail. And of course, we're back to that. And then over here is your little one. It's got your overall mileage. And yes, that is correct. This 7-year-old van has 233,000 miles on it, which is probably one of the problems with this modern car. Then, of course, you have your Trip A and your Trip B. And it's all controlled with these 3 buttons right here. Here we have our usual, we have our turn signal and headlight controls over here, wiper controls over here, and then what I like about this is the rear wiper is controlled from right here on the end of the stock, and then the rest of it is for your main wipers. Instead of having a switch down here where Dodge likes to put them, our 05 Caravan had a switch down in this area somewhere. The 2001 Durango that I reviewed, same thing, had a switch down here on the center stack. This is just right here. It's at your fingertips. It's right behind the wheel. It's great. Here we have cruise control, you know, standard stuff. Higher trims over here would have phone and audio controls, but of course this doesn't have that. Now we enter the back of the van. We'll slide the doors. Now the S trim does not have any kind of power sliding doors. These are completely manual. Hop inside. And here's what we find. The rear is actually not too bad. The second row, I've got decent leg room. I've got amazing headroom. I mean, it's awesome. So it's not the worst place to sit. Now, I'm a little tall. I don't like back seats, but ideal. As we hop in, we see the back of each front seat has these little bag hooks. Nice and convenient. They just flip out. Here we have a center console in between the 2 seats. Once again, we have 2 cup holders here. Open this up and we have more storage. There's a lot of stuff in there. We have a storage pocket on the back of the passenger seat, but for some reason not on the back of the driver's seat. This is a thing, and I'm not sure why. Here we have our roof-mounted rear climate controls. Basic functionality, your power, your fan speed, your mode, and your temperature control. Nothing fancy back here. Of course, that can also be locked out up front. We have interior light on both ends of each back seat and a vent, grab handle, nothing special. Now these armrests that exist on the first and second row of this van are quite interesting. So you bring this down and you notice how it just kind of flops around. It really doesn't, it's not stiff, it doesn't stay in place. To put this in the position you want, you bring all the way down until it clicks, and then bring it back up to where you want, and it actually stops. Need it higher? Bring it up. Same thing. Keep going. You can go, you can go up to here apparently. If you bring it all the way up, oh crap, too high, sorry, you got to go back all the way down and then come back to where you want it. Interesting design. It works actually quite well. Just takes getting used to the first time around. These second row seats also have multiple little levers on them. This lever right here is to tip the seat forward and slide it forward. This makes entry into the rear extremely easy. This one down here just folds the top of the seat down like so. Want to put it back up, just lift it up. And we'll go ahead and climb into the back. So like I said, once you have that slid forward, it's actually not too bad climbing in here. Pull that back, and here we are in the third row. As you can see, third row, obviously not as roomy. It really never is in much of anything. Knee room's not great. Once again, headroom is absolutely amazing. This is a tall van. If you're tall, you can sit in here and not bang your head. You might have a problem with your knees though. This third row is not loaded with features. Obviously it's a third row. You got 2 cup holders over here, storage bin, 2 over here, same shallow storage bin. I do like that they put defroster strips on this third row passenger side window so that will also defrost along with the back window, so that the person driving can actually, merge and back up and actually see out of this window. Very smart idea. Get out, there's another lever here on the side of the second row seat. Pull that up, same functionality, tilts it and slides it. And now onto the rear of the vehicle, and we'll actually go from the outside in. See this nice, and I do like the design of these taillights. I think it's very stylish. But the one thing that always bugs me about automakers is putting all this taillight real estate in, and this much is the taillight. This is nothing. I don't know why it does, but it just bugs me. You got your signals here, backup lights on the door. How to get in, there's an electronic button release, just push, and we open up. Again, just like the sliding doors, it is not power, it's not that high of a trim level. Higher trims obviously would have a power door to go up and down. This simply doesn't. Here in the back, fairly Spartan, we have a 12-volt outlet, very handy. Now if you look up here on the ceiling, there is a seat belt. This is the seat belt for the center of the third row. And it stows away up here so that it's out of the way if you need to fold the seats down. It pulls down. This little one here attaches to its own little buckle in the seat, and then you have your regular buckle that you pull over and buckle in. We don't like this thing because putting it back is an absolute pain, mainly the unbuckling the little one part. So it really doesn't get used, and we never really have anyone and that many people in the third row anyway. On the back of the third row seat, you have a couple more bag hooks. Here you have your child seat anchors and simple seats to fold over. Just pull the loop, pull the strap, and they fold right down. And on both sides, and they fold right down. We have a nice flat loading floor. My wife delivers flowers a couple times a year, and I help her out a couple other times. And this thing is actually a very handy vehicle for that. I'm going to pull this seat back up. Same thing, just pull on the strap and we'll lock it in place. Pull on this strap and lock it in place, maybe. There, locked in place. Now down here we have underfloor storage. So if we pick up on this panel right here with this loop, this strap doubles as a loop to hold the panels up for the in-floor storage. Do the same thing over here. I hate these things so much. Okay, I don't actually hate them, but when someone comes in here and undoes these snapped on straps, it makes it very difficult for that thing to stay up. But here they are in the upright position. You see we have this massive in-floor storage. In here is a panel where you'll find your tire tool, and this panel is where you'll find your jack. Close everything up, we just undo the straps, lower the floor panels, and if you want, I recommend get the straps out of the way, just pull back on these panels that become the floor when you fold the seats down. Tuck the strap in there, and it stays out of the way. Put the door down. Now this is a soft close hatch, so all we have to do is touch, and it pulls itself in. Now that we're back inside, we'll go ahead and start it up. So foot on the brake, hit the button, and it fires right up. Make sure my brightness is all the way. Okay. Now back to the gauge cluster. It's a very simple cluster, really. You have your big center speedo that registers 160. I'm not brave enough to try that in this van. Tachometer in a Cvt for some reason, and gas and temp. Alright, and now let's drive. So, dash mounted shifter and drive, and let's take off. Now, as far as riding in this vehicle, I will say the seats, even with as much as they've been used in the past 7 years, are actually fairly comfortable. I mean, it's not a sports car, so there's not really no bolstering. Of course, it's also not an old school Lincoln or Cadillac with the big plushy seats in it. But they're tolerable. We've taken a 600-mile one-way road trip up to Illinois and back, of course, and they were nice, tolerable seats to sit in. I really had no complaints about that. As far as actually driving this car, when you first get in here, at least when I first got in here, the first thing I thought was, my goodness, this thing is wide. And that's something coming from me, because I mean, I drive a box truck every day for a living, a 17-foot former Penske moving truck every single day. And so, you know, if anyone knows wide vehicles, I would. I was like, man, this one's wide, and it is. In fact, this car is modeled directly off of a model still in production in Japan known as, and I'm probably screwing up the pronunciation, the El Grande, except that it's about 5 inches wider. Another aspect that I noticed was just how high this belt line is, where, you know, we're pretty, at least that's what I'm calling it, where the windows meet the rest of the door, and of course where the window meets the dash. This dash is actually pretty high, and so it'd take a little bit of getting used to the first time you drive this thing. Turning radius isn't too bad in this thing either. Actually, pretty tight. Now, other than that, view out the front, visibility is, I mean, it's great in this car. It's a van. What do you expect? You know, you got big windows all the way around. You can clearly see everywhere. The biggest thing I had to get used to was the width and just this weird high dash. But really, it's just as easy as anything else to drive it. There's no reason to be intimidated by this thing. It is just a minivan after all. Steering feel is, it's a minivan. Now it has an electronic power steering that's not fully electronic like a lot of sports cars do, or luxury cars or whatever. It has an electrically driven power steering pump rather than one driven off the engine. And so that's how you get your power steering from this thing. And it handles decently. Once again, it's a minivan. But I have to say, it's not too bad. The 260 horsepower out of the 3.5 liter V6 engine, it's actually pretty good amount of power. It's enough to get this thing up the road, get you out of the sticky situation. Now you lay on it, and it will take off. although I'm not going to go too fast because I don't like getting pulled over. But if you need to merge onto a highway, if you need to make a pass, this thing has the power to do that. Of course, it's going to feel a little different because it's CVT, you're not dropping a gear. To do so, you're just kind of putting more power into the transmission. But overall, it's a decent car to drive. It's actually not too bad. It's, like I said, it's comfortable enough. It's a good ride. I'll give it that. But I do have problems with this car, and we're going to discuss those right now. Now, let's discuss my issues with this vehicle. And some may think these are a matter of opinion, but I actually find these to be legitimately issues. One is getting to things under the hood, first of all. Now, opening the hood and propping it up is weird enough. As you see, the hood prop attaches underneath the hood, and you stick it in here. Kind of a backwards solution, whatever, it works. Here's that electric power steering pump I was talking about. So it is still a hydraulic pump, but it's driven electrically. The first thing is getting to the air filter. This, behind this, whatever this is, I'm guessing it's an air dam, I don't know. This is the air box. It runs from here to there. One clip here, one down there, it tips up. It's not impossible, it's not the hardest thing in the world, but it's just a very inconvenient and bad place to put it. And it makes it a bit of a pain to get the air filter in and out, but it's manageable. As far as the battery's location, I'm trying to think of how in the world I would get that out. I'm glad I didn't have to do that. Now, my biggest gripe under the hood of all is checking the oil. So if I bring out my cell phone light here, down here is your engine oil dipstick. And I'm hoping you can tell where this thing goes in. Right down at the, dang it, there we go. I don't know if you can tell, but that dipstick does not go into a tube like every other dipstick I've ever used. Instead, there's just a hole in the engine that dipstick goes into, and then it has a seal or a plug on the dipstick that stops it and seals it. My thing is, once you pull it out, one, it has to be put in one direction. If you turn it around 180 degrees, it won't work, it won't read correctly. You have to put it in just like that. Two is simply the act of getting it in there. You know, it's just an awkward thing to have to line up. It's a pain in the butt. I mean, it's way down in there. If you can see the black circle a little ways down from the yellow handle of the dipstick, that's the top of the seal plug. And right there is where the hole is into the engine. It's just a very inconvenient, very badly designed way of doing this. Now, my other gripes have to do with build quality. And the build quality has suffered. Now, like I said before, there was a slight deer strike, hit the butt of the deer. She did try to avoid it. That's why she didn't hit the whole deer and smash up the entire front end of the van. But it did beat in the bumper. We managed to get that out. It knocked out one of these plugs where a fog light would go. See, this side still has one. Higher trim levels would have had fog lights. This one doesn't. But my biggest thing about this is, of course, it bent the fender. You can still kind of tell maybe where the fender bent, but it was much worse. Now, I didn't use any tools to do this. I didn't take it to a body shop to get it pulled out. I was able to bend this fender metal with my bare hands. Never before have I ever seen a car where I could bend the metal with my hands. Even on my old 1976 Chevy pickup truck, as rusty as it is, the parts of the body that do not have rust are still rigid, and there's no way you're bending those with your hand. However, this did. Now, the other big issue And honestly, the big reason why this van is going away and we've gotten another one is this sliding door. Now this could be attributed to build quality, although it also doesn't help that my wife is a Lyft driver. These doors are manual, they're not power, and a lot of people seem to not realize that on modern vans you do not have to slam the door. On older vans like the 94 Aerostar we had at one time, yes, absolutely, you had to slam the doors. But this, simple. I mean, I'll go around and show you on the driver's side. I mean, you just pull and then you close. And that's closed. I didn't slam that, I just glided it closed. But that is not something a lot of people realize. So now, when you open this passenger side door, and I'm going to try to be as careful as I can while holding the camera, this top roller, well, this time it stayed on track. Anyway, this track, I'm going to try to show you too. The track for the upper roller on this door broke. So right in here, see where that metal looks jagged and broken? The track used to end there. That's actually a missing piece of track. And I don't know where that piece went either. That broke off. So now if someone tries to open this door and doesn't know how to, this bracket is just going to kind of come off track and the door's going to try to fall on you. Obviously we can't have that. We can't have her trying to explain to every customer how to close the door, and it's way too expensive to fix, so we're getting rid of it. But my absolute biggest problem of all with these modern Nissan Quests, and I'm going to assume that that might carry over to all Nissan models, or at least cars anyway, is the thing under this battery, the Cvt transmission. Now, like I said before, if you don't already know, CVT stands for continuously variable transmission. Unlike a standard automatic transmission we've all been used to for so many decades, it doesn't have gears in there. When you're driving along, it doesn't shift gears. It's just two pulleys and a steel belt. In these CVTs, that steel belt is the weak point. Now, we got this van, it had 183 or 6,000 miles on it. And by 193, I want to say, thousand, that CVT transmission went out. If that was the first transmission to die on this van, I don't know, but it was the first one that died for us. Now, luckily, we got that warranty replaced. This was in the spring of last year, 2018. That transmission was replaced with a used unit with only like 90-some thousand on it. And by the beginning of June of last year, the transmission was that replacement transmission was already beginning to go out. Now, we got fortunate. They warrantied that transmission as well. From what they claimed, they ordered a brand new unit from Nissan. It was sent to a local Nissan dealer. They picked it up and put it in. And we got the van back 3 days before we had to leave on that long road trip to Illinois that I was talking about. That's my biggest problem with this thing is once you get up high mileage, the transmission is just not going to last. Or at least it didn't for us. And when you have 2 transmissions replaced in a vehicle in less than 6 months, that does not say good things about the quality of that vehicle or its drivetrain. And that's my biggest problem with this car. And besides the fact that the door will be extremely expensive to fix, and the body work would cost some money to fix, and the mirror is expensive to fix. This whole new mirror unit from the dealership is $300. Ridiculous. Besides all of that, the biggest reason I'm glad to see this thing go is that transmission. Now, I'm not going to say that I wasn't glad to see this van in the driveway for a while. You know, it was an absolute godsend that we got into this van. When our 2005 Dodge Caravan was totaled, we didn't think we were going to get anything else. But our dealership worked with us. They got us into this thing. And I mean, they were amazing. And I'll go ahead and give them a plug because I think they're one of the best dealers in the area. If you live in the area or anywhere close to East Tennessee and you're looking for a good used car from a bunch of great Christian people that are eager to help you and want to see you succeed, Hepperly Auto Sales in Maryville and now in Lenore City. I mean, these people are phenomenal, and we're buying the replacement van for this through them, which will make our third purchase from them, and I wouldn't hesitate to go back to them. Like I said, it's just a plug. I really think highly of these people. They don't even know that I'm mentioning them, and that's just fine by me. I don't need a sponsorship. I don't need a payment from them. I just pay it forward, you know? Send people there. So there you have it. That's my review and opinions of the 4th generation Nissan Quest. This generation was produced for the 2011 through 2016 model years. So this van is no longer in production. 16 was the last year, and it's probably a good thing. Honestly, with everyone turning to a big desire for SUVs over anything else, it's probably not bad for Nissan that they don't make this car. It is definitely good for them that they don't, because honestly, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's just not a good, long-lasting vehicle. Now, if you get a low-mileage version under 100,000 miles, I mean, who knows? It might last for a while. Regular maintenance, change the oil, transmission fluid, that kind of thing. And even now, 233,000 miles. I've done oil changes on this thing. We put tires on it, air filters. That's it. The engine is awesome. The engine's still great. Now, with 233,000 miles, yes, it does use a little bit of oil. It's a high mileage engine. But usually, it's not a big deal. The problem with these is their transmission and their build quality. So like I said, if you're considering buying one of these, and you really got to have the 4th generation Quest, the 2011 through 16, look at the mileage for one thing. Make sure it's low. That's not a guarantee that the CVT isn't going to fail, but from what I've experienced and what we've experienced in this last year's time, might stand a better chance. But that's enough. I've said enough about this car. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you found it informative, and if you're in the market for a used minivan and you had this on your shopping list, I hope that it's helped you to make a decision whether to buy or not to buy this vehicle. If you did enjoy it, if you thought it was a good video, rather informative, or even if you just want to, make sure to hit that subscribe button, click on that notification bell so that you know when my next video comes out. I've got other videos on the channel right now. I've got a review of my 96 Kia Sportage, 01 Dodge Durango, which is right there. And I've got videos documenting the ongoing project with my 76 Chevy, which is right there. But once again, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell, follow me on social media, Facebook and Instagram at That Car Vlog channel. If you feel so inclined, share the video. My philosophy is you love cars, share it with everybody, because love is love, right? That was really stupid. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you next time. You guys have a good one. Bye.